the Carolina Mountain Woodturners. It's November 17th, 2007. See the library to the right, TV monitors, the room's being set up, the instant gallery everybody's looking at over by the black drape. Andi Wolfe is our guest turner at the lathe, getting things ready. And you can see to the left the other video equipment, sharpening table, membership trays, our group sign there over the food table, and another monitor. It looks like another great day here. Okay, this is before the real start here, but Andi Wolfe is roughing out a piece so that we will be in better, faster shape when the time comes. Look forward to her demo today. Using rotary chisel.
One of the ways that you can minimize the problem is to make sure that you brace everything as you're working, especially with the rotary tool.
Piercing now with a narwhal bit. The Fordham Small. Air-driven 400,000 RPM.
Virtually no torque.
So people taking the demo class will do something similar to these. I'll just pass these around and give you an idea of what I'm working on here for the coloring part of it. But a lot of people have some intimidation in terms of using pyrography as a texturing tool or as a carving tool. And so one of the things I like to do is to set up a sampler board and have everybody play with the different tips. It's really hard for me to do a beginner line. Let me see if I can do a beginner line. That's a beginner's one. You often see that because you don't know how the wood is going to behave, and when it gets to a hard part, you pull harder and then you end up skipping out of the groove. It's different going across the grain as compared to going with the grain. Across the grain, you end up running into the hard and soft part of the growth ring. So you have to just practice and ready to try.
You lower the temperature, can you, instead of making it charred like that, make it like more brown?
Yes, that was its intention initially, was a shading tip. So I'm going to off the resin on the ones I'm going to do transparent coloring on.
That's with 91% alcohol.
With 91% because that won't raise the grain. The 70% will raise the grain, and then you'll end up having to do some sanding afterwards. Don't want to be treating this as if you were painting the garage. You know, you're actually not painting the garage. You don't want to ground your lines. So this is probably the hardest thing that my students have to face. That they think that they have to paint the garage. I understand I have a class of men tomorrow, so we'll be going through this exercise.
Garage painting.
I'm going to color the entire plant parts with yellow first. Okay, so that's the first step. It's still fairly wet from what I was doing with the pre-wetting, so I'm going to just work from light to dark hues on the colors, and I'll start with kind of yellowish red. Kind of a yellow orange. And I'm going to pick up the color on my brush, so I won't be directly applying it to the wood here. The felt, and then I'm just going to dab some of that color into it. I'm not going to go all the way to the edge where I have color already applied. And I'm going to just concentrate down toward the base of this petal, if you will. One of the things I find that people in my classes often do is they overdo it and they don't have any room for subtlety then. So I just very carefully apply the color. Don't overdo it at first. You know, metallics, I really like the Lumiere brand. This particular brand of metallic, I think, has the best characteristics of all the ones I've tried. It's just a really nice flow and nice consistency. And then the interference ones are called the Liquitex. I have a little bit of paint, and I want to make sure that there's still some dark areas underneath that for when I put the interference colors on. And I'll talk a little bit about that here in a second.
Always use interference over metallic?
No, sometimes I use the interference directly on black. But for this effect that I'm showing you, I'm trying to get a metallic illusion. Yeah, you aren't kidding, man. You are not kidding. So I sent it to her for Christmas, and I said, Mom, I'm going to send you this. I don't want you to open the package until I'm on the phone with you, because I want to hear what you think about it. I want your honest reaction. And so Christmas morning comes around, and I call them up. They're in Eugene, Oregon. I'm back in Ohio. And I call them up, and I said, okay, I want you to open the package, and I want to hear what you think about it. And so I hear the dialogue between my mom and my dad. Spud, pick up the phone. Andy's on the phone. She wants to hear us open the package. Spud! You know. Who's on the phone? Yes. You know what I'm talking about. You know exactly what I'm talking about here. So they get on the phone and they get the package and they start to unwrap it. And I hear all the package wrappings coming off, and it's, you know, a long drawn out process because I wrapped it pretty well. And they're telling me that I shouldn't have wrapped it so well because their fingers aren't as young as they used to be. You know? And I'm just chomping at the bit. I really, really want to hear this initial reaction of my mom. And so the wrapping paper comes off. And I know the wrapping's off because, you know, they're talking about whether they should save it or if they should. You know, the whole little argument between the parents. And the box is being sliced open with my dad's pocket knife, you know, and I said, well, be careful, you know, because it's packed and I don't want you to just pick it up and throw it on the floor. And so the box is opened up and the inside of tissue paper is rustled through, and my dad finally pulls the platter out, and there's silence on the phone, absolute silence on the phone. And I'm going, Mom, what do you think? I mean, you know, I want to know what you think about this. And she said, it's so beautiful. It's one of the most beautiful things I've ever seen. And I said, really? She said, yes, really. And I said, really? And she said, yeah. She had never seen anything like it, and she just thought it was tremendously beautiful. And then she asked me how I did it, and I started telling her about my techniques and some of the challenges I faced, and how I was having trouble getting this particular green to work. And she says, well, did you put any burnt sienna in it? And I go, huh? By the time I got to the third one, it was like I was swaying in the back because my car is not rated for that kind of weight. And I got home just as my son was walking home from high school. And I said, don't go in the house yet, I need some help. And so we managed to maneuver these things out onto the driveway without breaking the pavement as we, you know, moved them off into the driveway. And they sat outside for months because I didn't have a chainsaw that